2 of our conversation about the soul and the world we inhabit. So if you haven't seen part 1, I suggest you go now and review and listen to part 1 so that you are caught up with the discussion. So I'm going to pick up today where we just left off, and I want to talk about world religions and philosophies. Many of the religions have a teaching about life after death. Some religions have a system. For instance, the Tibetans, they have something known as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and monks, when someone is transitioning, come to the bedside, and when that person dies, the monks have a ritual from many hundreds and hundreds of years of practice where they escort the soul, or that consciousness that's inside the soul, that consciousness through the astral realms into a finer realm of light where there is no conflict that is part of this lower reality. And so they are very well aware of transitioning, and they have a practice as to how to do it. The Christians, one of the reasons, from my point of view, the main reason that Jesus came was to create a way for conscious avatars, as I call them, or conscious human souls, part of the larger soul, but conscious avatars, I'll use that word, to be escorted out of this lower third dimension, which I mentioned before had high contrast and conflict, to be escorted out of this reality into a finer reality that was more peaceful and loving, still locked in or still attached to the belief systems of the earth. So the primary thing that Jesus does is through baptism, actually. And although the church is baptized with water, and they are baptizing you into the community of Christ, John the Baptist said, "I baptize with water, but one comes after me who will baptize with fire." There is a spiritual baptism that happens with the Christian religion. You could call that the fire or the Holy Spirit, that links you to a pathway out of the astral worlds, which I talked about in video 1. The astral worlds are full of purgatory, heaven, and some finer light, easier vibrational realities, some very dark places. And a person who has committed themselves to the Christian religion has a path out of this reality. Because in video 1, I spoke about this is a learning reality. And I spoke about the war that I was involved with, where a large amount of avatars, is the word I'm using, were demoted down to this level. So Jesus is a way out to another level. But the level that those Christians go to is based on their philosophy of a heavenly kingdom and peace and all the wonderful things that the Bible talks about. So we have these groups of religions that have come, avatars, and have come to rescue or to redeem or to escort out these consciousness avatars so they can continue living in a reality that is more conducive to perhaps the good life that they lived. So now what happens to the rest of everybody else? That is part of your free will. And I would say if you don't have any religion, if you don't have any spiritual beliefs, you pretty much are a free agent. And even if you have some spiritual beliefs, like New Age or perhaps philosophical, spiritual ideas that, yes, there's a conscious reality out there, you still don't have any idea where you're going after you die, because you haven't adopted a particular religious path out. You're sort of a free agent. And so when you cross over and you are not focused in your multidimensional self, as I spoke about in the first video, that when you begin to awaken to the fact that you have other bodies, you become a multidimensional being. You have choices, you have options. You can leave this body and inhabit other bodies. So one of the things that a lot of humanity may have yet to understand is that when they die, they really don't know where they're going, because they really don't know who they are. And so death is very fearful for a great deal of humanity. It's very fearful because they haven't consciously traveled over to the other side. They haven't consciously created a path out, and they haven't consciously inhabited other bodies that they know they can move into when they die. So they basically have no idea where they're going. This presents some interesting choices. And the choices are, you're sort of roaming around the astral worlds. And I have run into a lot of people who just roam around the astral worlds. The other option can happen is that there are very sophisticated beings in these worlds who can coax you, cajole you, tempt you, and just downright take you to where they would like for you to hang out in their reality that they've created in the astral worlds, and you pretty much go there. There are higher parts of your soul, we'll say more advanced bodies that have awakened, who are multidimensional beings inside your soul complex. We talked about the soul being a complex of many bodies. So there are some bodies within your soul that are awake or multidimensional, and they can also come and try to reach you and talk to you and help you establish a place where you can dwell on the other side. Now, I am speaking of people who have no idea that they're multidimensional. These people who cross over after death, all they know is who they are, who they were on Earth. So when they're on the other side, they are identifying with everything in their reality as to who they were and with their five senses. They have not been trained or initiated into other bodies or other realities. So the other awakened multidimensional avatars within the soul can come and counsel them. You might say, like, an angel could come and counsel you when you cross over. And this counseling could be a slow process of trying to educate that avatar's mind as to the possibility of other ways to live or other realities. And it can be a very long process or a fairly short process, but a period of training must go on. And that's if that avatar that crossed over had a somewhat of a spiritual connection to its higher self or to its soul self, so that this other higher being of itself could come and start to counsel it. If there are people, avatars who cross over, who have no connection, no spiritual connections at all, then they kind of roam in the astral worlds. And they could also just be attached to Earth, like ghosts. Um, they are not without help, but because in the astral world there are consciousness beings who do dwell there, who are trying to reach these avatars. I'm using the word avatar so I can separate the idea from soul and avatar, because there are many bodies that the soul has. So there's a lot of things going on when we cross over. And one of the things I would like to do with my channel and with you is to begin to help us understand how to prepare for crossing over, how to actually wake up now, how to become aware now of our other bodies, and not wait until death and not know where you're going. You want to create a pathway while you're living. You want to go back and forth to an area that you are compatible with within your soul. And you want to begin to establish a home base there. And you then want to begin to establish inhabiting a body there, so that when you do transition and you drop this body, you can easily move into that body. As I had said previously, bodies are no big deal in the universe. There are vast amounts of bodies everywhere. The soul complex creates lots and lots of bodies. That's how it experiences different realities, is through some type of body. And it's not necessarily a physical one like we're familiar with. There could be light beings, plasma beings. It could be beings of different kinds of matrix makeups that are very different from us. But the conscious soul is creating many bodies. These bodies, which I term avatars, not all of them have free will. I will say that. But a large majority of them do have free will. Some of the bodies have been created that are specifically designed by the soul to perform specific duties and specific tasks. And they really are just an extension of the soul. They don't have a free will choice. But in our world and in our reality and in many realities, free will choice is what the soul wants, because free will and choice expands the soul. The soul grows from choice. The soul creates all these avatars and sends them into these different realities at different levels, and is experiencing new ideas, new concepts, new ways of reality, creating reality. And all of that is how the soul grows. So most of these avatars have choice, free will to choose. So what I would suggest that we start to do is, first of all, become lucid in your dreams. Dreams are extremely important. Dreams are your schoolhouse, your education, and your initiation into where you're going when this body drops. Dreams that are lucid will educate you continuously on new realities, new bodies, new ideas. If you can learn to astral travel and accept astral traveling, then you can travel the areas around connected to this third dimension and become familiar with how to travel astrally. That is the next step to actually bilocating into other bodies. You don't have to spend enormous amounts of time astral traveling to begin to inhabit other bodies. But astral travel is usually a step with lucid dreaming, where you're awake in the dream plane. You're awake and you know you're dreaming, and now you can start looking around and start talking to people and start trying to figure out where you are. And astral travel is a part of that, where you begin to leave the body consciously by your own will and travel into these astral worlds. Those two are kind of connected. But there is also another path, which is the one that I am talking mostly about, which is bilocating into other bodies. This idea is something that will be what we will work on in the times that we're here together, is understanding this idea and this concept. So I'd like to suggest that this community who are listening to these videos, post your comments, tell me what it is you're interested in, specifically where it is you want to know more information, because there's a lot of information on lucid dreaming, astral travel. There's a lot of information on bilocating into other bodies. I have a lot of experiences where I have been in other bodies, and some of them are very close to this reality. Some of the bodies I've been in are just a level 1 or 2 above this level. And at those levels, those bodies are busy working to resolve the conflicts that are down here, to help awaken the avatars that are down here to moving up in the levels, like the computer game I mentioned in the first video. So there is a large group of beings who are helping us. They want us to know there is a lot of help, and they want us to know they're here to escort us out of the trapped environment, you might say. When I say trapped, I mean from going from this reality to the astral worlds, which is just the emotional blueprint of the earth worlds. And it's sort of a container, and you have to move out of that into the higher realms. But that comes with education, compatibility, and initiation into it. And initiation, I don't want to make that word like it's some big initiation, but what I mean is you have to be educated, you have to have a harmony or a vibrational frequency that matches it, and you have to initiate yourself into those realms before passing this body off. And there are many people, beings and human beings, who are multidimensional like myself, and beings who exist in these other realms slightly above ours, who are working with us right now to help us. We're at a great time right now in transition for the planet, and we have a lot of opportunity now to migrate out of here to someplace better. And so if you want to continue with these discussions and you find them fascinating or interesting, challenging, then please check the like button and please subscribe, and please consider donating through the PayPal buttons that I've mentioned. I would like to be able to devote my full time to developing this library of knowledge, and so I would appreciate any help that you can offer. And I am particularly interested in you leaving comments for me so that I know where most of you are interested in going with the conversation, because we can break off in many directions. And I will listen and read your comments and consider them. So thank you very much for listening.